yet.
Trying to still catch up on last season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, looks
Yeah.
like we might be back.
Okay.
Let me see here. Yeah, it looks like we are back. Sorry, people, if you. I don't think we had anyone watching, but sorry. Um, we're just gonna
Yep.
continue from here. Maybe I'll pull those and edit it and make it in one video and re-upload it.
Sorry,
I
yeah,
have
watch your.
I have no idea where we ended in the last one, so we'll just start all over from the day I became God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So
Okay. Yep.
Albert, if you will.
So as I mentioned in our previous video at the beginning of the season, I picked this up because it's PA Works, which in general I like their uh, different projects. Not all of them always hit it out of the ballpark, but for the most part, I do really enjoy their works. This is also a original story, so that's always something that I'm interested in. And it is written by Maeda Jun, who is known primarily as writing a bunch of different game scenarios, so for visual novels. Most famously, he also was a writer for Charlotte, and he was also did work for Angel Beats, Little Busters, Clannad, and so on and so forth. So he was part of the key visual studios. Um, the director is someone, I mean, yeah, so the director is Yoshiyuki Asai, and his most prominent work is Charlotte, after which he did Fate Apocrypha, and then this is his third series. He's done various episode directions before. Um, so Charlotte was something that I watched and did not enjoy. I think I dropped it. I did the 3 episodes and I dropped it, and I have no regrets dropping it from what I remember. And I was just going to see if this was going to be a repeat of that or if this would bring something new. So the Day I Became God, or Kami-sama ni Nattahi, is about this. The two main characters is basically Yota Narukami, and he is in high school, as you would. And one day during his summer break, he meets this strangely dressed girl who um, claims to be the all-knowing Odin, and says, "You don't have to worry about your next semester or uh, going to college because the world's gonna end in 30 days. Nothing happens after 30 days." He's like, "What? Okay, little girl, thanks for your chunibyo. Where do you live? I'll take you home." And so there's all these comedic moments where he's being like the straight man, she is the tsukkomi, or the punchline,
Mm-hmm.
and the comedic timing really works because of the two leads, I think. So Tato, the Odin girl, whose real name is Hina, is voiced by Ayane Sakura, and she's has a long history of a variety of roles. And then the boy is voiced by Natsuki Hanae, and he also has quite a long career. Most recently, let's see, 2020. Yeah, he has a bunch of roles that is too long to go through. So fairly popular, fairly. He has a lot of main lead roles. He's probably most famous for voicing Tanjiro in Demon Slayer. Okay, so these two really make the show shine. The problem is with the overall story.
I gotta
So
ask before you get into that. Does she say ugu or anything like that? She understands this in any bizarre way.
no, she just
Yeah, I don't
there's a
think
lot of
she has like
yelling.
an audio cue thing.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think so. Not that I remember. So
Damn it.
She does get to do that in the last quarter for a different reason because anyway, might get to that or not. So the problem is when you get to the story part. So there is around episode 3, which I was not expecting, you get introduced to this other storyline, which is uh, this silver-haired. He's probably younger, I think late middle school or early high school kid looking, but he's a super hacker. So he's got gloves that control something like you would see in the Matrix or Minority Report, with an interface that only he can see due to all these attachments, and he can super hack things. So then, once that showed up, like I'm not sure where this is going now, because he works for the CEO. That is that is the name of the person, CEO, who is a female CEO of some mysterious company, and
She's a CEO, but her name's CEO.
Yes, it's not. She's not given a name.
Okay.
Just the title.
Oh, okay. So
yes.
Okay, I get it.
So you start to get it, right? And then so that storyline doesn't actually cross into the main storyline. It kind of works parallel with each other, and it seems like he's trying to find a missing person. And then as it gets along, it's not until like episode 6 or 7, I think it might have been 7, when they're doing the filming. Up until then, it's between episodic events of things that you would expect in a visual novel, events happening, summer festivals. They also decide they're going to make a film for Yota's kid sister's project, right? So she's part of the filming club and wants to make a film, so they decide to help her, all the family included. And that was also one thing I should point out, that Yota does have parents who are actually have speaking roles and are important, and they are participating in their daughter and son's lives. Okay.
They just kind of have to specify that.
It's sad that I have to specify that. Yes,
they're
not off.
That's a plus point.
Yeah, they're not dead. They're not overseas. They exist and they are there. So, yeah, and then when the story crosses, you get the two stories crossing, and at that point you're like, this is going in a strange direction. And it kind of reminded me of a couple of different things, but mainly Robotic Notes. I don't know if you guys remember that show. There was the
I remember it.
semicolon show. So there's that whole thing with it.
I mean, I can see your tie-in, but I never thought of that personally.
Yeah, it's just that the mystery of the person that they're trying to find and how that relates to Hina and the overall story kind of reminded me of that. But I don't know, it changes between the comedic moments, which is the fun part of the show, and the serious, missing person search storyline, which eventually leads to Hina and the two story paths crossing. And then it gets really messy. It gets really messy around episode, I think it was 9. Yes.
I mean,
Episode 9.
I think I'll well, I'm kind of conflicted as how to reveal the spoiler, because it is a big part of the show, but like it almost needs to be addressed. So I would say that, like, as a visual cue at this point, if you're someone who doesn't like actually want the plot of this show spoiled, like, bounce out for like a little bit. Like, if you don't mind hearing it, and we'll discuss it at this time. But if you definitely want the mystique of the show and want to experience it yourself, then please do not like listen for the I don't know how to cue back in that you're safe. But
how about this as a like one sentence description? Will this spoiler change the show? Does it save the show, make it good?
No, it probably depends on you. I think Albert didn't like it. I did. So because I will admit it's not it's not the most sensible thing. It's just it's something that I particularly like about anime, but I could see like I even have questions about how it works. So
okay, so I'm ready to cross the threshold into spoiler land.
Yeah. So Albert, since you were explaining the whole time, I didn't want to. Did you want to take it away in your own words, or should I?
I mean, you could spoil it. I don't care.
So as far as like what Albert was saying,
Right, I'm
you
glad I
come
put
to
this big
find
thing
out
here.
towards the end that the protagonist of the show, Ahina, suffers from something, although she doesn't really appear to. I think it is a fictitious disease. They refer to it as Logos syndrome, and yeah, because I googled it and I got like no info. So, if you could just kind of like the way it's portrayed in the show is it's almost like a growing disorder, like an atrophy disease, where kind of like it seems like it causes a form of like muscle paralysis, like Stephen Hawking talking through like a computer thing, but it's more mental than it is physical. I think it just leads into physical due to how much it affects your mental state. And she was born with this disease, and why she became God, why this super hacker was chasing after the science guy was he apparently was this rock star in the industry, and he made a like very small, as in probably yay big or so, quantum computer that produced zero like thermals, and he somehow implanted this into the girl, like into her head, into her brain, and that dealt with the afflictions that she had. So like it counteracted the disease, and she was able to lean on this quantum computer to almost get this like Laplace's demon kind of ability about events in the future, and she couldn't see past a certain point, and that's why she thought the world was going to end. But she was almost able to like perfectly predict situations because she has this like what I mean when I say like the Laplace stuff, right? It's that that like sci-fi area keyword where like it's that like if since the world can be like calculated out in math, if you know the world's underlying algorithm, you could make like future perfect predictions just doing math, and that's the Laplace's demon, just to give it a quick throw out. And it why she's not able to see past a certain point was because when the hacker learns what the scientist has made, he reports to the CEO. The CEO tells the government. The government kind of realizes they look at the things that she's done, and although she's acting on the behalf of someone else, they innately kind of reckon with themselves that this person has like the potential to make any future they want possible, and they weigh amongst themselves if they think that any one person should have that. And that's like it was kind of weird because the main character like in real time was like assessing their like governmental like yes or no approval as like it was happening, and they unanimously vote to remove the supercomputer from her, and basically restore the full spectrum of how bad this disease that she had was. And I will say that that's not the part of the show I appreciated. I just kind of liked the sci-fi twist, if you will. And the last part of the show is like the protagonist Yota goes to a facility in which he's being cared for because the government apparently put her up somewhere where she would be at the very least be cared for, and he kind of witnesses what has become of her, and he left with the intent to bring her back home to her family and friends, and that's something he still wanted to do, but now he had to kind of fight this a doctor who kind of had this thing where she had a miscarriage in her time, and she kind of like copes with her past.
Oh my God, it's so convoluted.
Yeah.
So do they what when in the show does this revelation happen, and does it come so fast and furious that the show becomes like really hard to follow?
Yeah, well, it definitely comes fast and furious because there's like the revelation when the guy realizes what the scientists have made. There's quickly the government's decision comes quickly, and then they literally come and they essentially abduct her, and she knows that there's like that's the funny thing about that Laplace's demon. It's like she literally knows there's no way she can get away from it. So she just kind of goes with them. This happens, and the next episode is like the character moping about, and eventually towards the end, getting to at least the facility, and you know, you lay eyes on the character and get a sense for what's going on. But I did want to quickly finish that, just to finish the glossing over a bit, that it's interesting because he has to almost fight with this doctor social worker. The social worker believes that like this medical facility is the best place for her. He believes it's back home with the family and friends. And they kind of have this, like, I wouldn't say like nature versus nurture issue, but the doctor knows that she had something implanted in her head that was supposed to cope with her condition, but she kind of presents it to the main character as how, like, you know, how much of her personality was the machine versus her own. Like, you know, how, like, when she lost that, how much did she lose? Is she still the same person? Is this the best place for her if she's that fundamentally different? And the main character kind of had to struggle with, you know, what does she actually want? And it was very hard to figure out what she wanted due to her inability to interact with the world due to the disease.
I like that the quantum computer is now the, like, not well understood by the general public science thing that fiction is using as, like, we can make anything happen in our story if we just throw out the word quantum computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the new Higgs boson, dark matter, nanomachines.
It's just
you know, we're like the quantum computers can't tell the future.
No.
What it does is that, like, you give it a problem where there's only one right answer and like an infinity of wrong answers, you know, just like an astronomical number of wrong answers, you know, kind of like breaking a security code. What's the right password? And the computer can test all of the possibilities all at once and arrive at the right answer like very quickly. So it's good at this one specific application. So if I had a quantum computer in my brain, I would mine a whole lot of bitcoins very quickly and retire.
Yeah, no, like I didn't think it was like the best use of quantum. Like I get it that because I even like, you know, I mean, kind of struggled with that myself.
I forgive fiction for doing it. I'm just saying,
you know, a processor in someone's head. How was that able to, like, how do you integrate that into the brain? Like you know that, and that's just explained as, oh, like it was kind of funny because a lot of the characters even said this would normally be impossible, but because it was that one doctor, it's actually feasible.
Yeah, I mean, it is okay. It's just like I find that amusing that like now it's the quantum computer that is serving this role in like kind of thinly written sci-fi fiction.
And you know, that's kind of where I struggle with being able to recommend this one, and I can understand that it's not going to be the most well received key visual works, but like it's so weird how it ticks a lot of the stuff that I like because I was actually quite bored with the first half. Yeah, I know we might cover this one later, but I did actually watch another anime from this season where there was a god who was actually Odin who like revealed himself to humanity, and I was kind of wondering, like, you know, what would the overlap here? I kind of had to compare these two at first, although they were largely very different from each other. But like, I wanted to know what was up with that, you know, I am God kind of stuff, and how she was able to predict. And while I'm not a fan of the use of the MacGuffin, so to speak, when the big plot reveal happens, I was able to kind of reflect on the first part of the series, and I actually enjoyed it better at that time because when I first watched it, I was just overall kind of unimpressed or almost bored with, you know, the antics that were happening. And then like this plot reveal happens, and then the character is struggling with what was her true personality all along. Is this what she wants, or how much of it like was the computer, that's kind of what made the whole series worthwhile to me. So,
are we done with spoilers?
Albert, is this show bad?
Me?
We're done.
I
We're
can't
done
recommend
talking
it.
about the spoiler, but if anyone has questions related to it, it still might come up. It's the only way I can answer you if you're listening right now, Tang.
I heard what Nick said, and it sounded like very convoluted in kind of a way that's unsurprising. So I don't
for June Maeda, right? So
I kind of don't want to watch a show that's like pretty boring for most of the way through, and then it like drops a truck ton of revelations and has to like get really expository.
But like that's the thing. Like Albert says, he kind of liked the comedy of the first part, whereas it wasn't the comedy I appreciate. So it's like, I mean, I wasn't like forcing myself to get through it, but
Okay.
I was definitely not like, you know, if I was comparing it to the other stuff that I know came from Key, I was more wondering the mystery of the show instead of like being really sold into what was happening on the screen at that moment. And it was only, like I said, the revelation that actually made me kind of appreciate the first part overall. Because like, you know, anything could have happened at that time. I think if it was like I'm just trying to say that it didn't like add anything to the first part. It just made me be able to reflect over it, and I kind of am impressed when a show can do something like that, because the only other time that I know that happened for a fact was Shinsekai Yori, with like literally the line that show ended on, and how it just kind of made you look over all the past events and reevaluate the show. That's kind of like what this plot reveal did for me, and it might not happen for everyone. So,
okay.
Okay, I'm taking the spoiler tag off. That's why I was just.
all right,
That's
cool.
why I was
Thanks.
asking.
Yeah.
Nick, anything to add? Or sorry,
No,
not Nick.
I mean the
Albert.
duality of.
I meant
explaining
Albert. I meant Albert.
Okay, sorry.
no, I mean Nick recommends it, kind of, I guess, because of the
But yeah,
enjoyment
I like
and
it
the
for
laugh.
myself, but I don't know who I could recommend it to at the same time. I would say you'd have to like the kind of shows I do at the very least.
Right, and I did not enjoy the reveal. I thought the reveal did not work for me, and the after part of that was the misery porn part, as you would expect in a Jun Maeda, story. And then at least he did not go, the easy route out with having her just having things end in a horrific way, right? And the afterlife, you pass on, and everyone's dead. So
Yeah.
he did not do that, which I did appreciate, but at the same time, that part is completely not believable to me in any respect. So
honestly,
I can't recommend it.
What really broke the believability for me was kind of like after he like leaves this medical facility, he kind of reintroduces the character to, again, the family and friends, and like nobody asks questions, and I don't really expect them to. It's just that whole believability thing is like, and I like when you show people who are understanding and supporting, but like I kind of need someone to ask questions. I just have to see it.
No.
So. When people don't ask the obvious questions, I get upset with the series. Like, no, you gotta put a tiny bit of effort into just a single scene. Give me one scene.
Well, okay. Our next thing, do we have someone who can talk about it? Where's my list?
Oh yeah, I mean I can talk about it, but now that we lost Jessica, maybe if Sean has any questions about any of the other shows, we can talk about random things.
What was the show? I'm lost.
We were gonna talk about Sleepy Princess, but
Okay.
I don't think it's necessary. People will like it, or or whatever. It's comedy, and it was the funny comedy that we needed during the goddamn pandemic.
Well,
As
tell
far
us.
as I was concerned. So.
I already got the title card up, so just tell us a little about it, maybe, because
Like how it
yeah,
ended
sure.
specifically instead of the
I know
synopsis.
I know it was
It
on
doesn't end.
I know it was on Funimation,
Oh, it's
and it
going on
seemed
the
like a
Netflix.
very laid
I
back
thought it was
type of
on.
show.
That was on Crunchyroll. No.
Maybe it was
Okay.
on both.
Well, yeah. So very briefly, right? Let me actually see if I can share screen. That is a low res image. Well, whatever. Okay. So very briefly, Maojo de Oyasumi means sleep at the demon castle, or in this case, the English title is Sleepy Princess and the Demon Castle. So it's based on a manga series. I think there is over 10 volumes out now, and um, Ford. The princess is voiced by Minari Inose, and I've mentioned her before. She's very popular. I do like a lot of what she voices, and I think she has range, and she also as active as an artist, which means as a singer. So she sang the OP. Yeah, she sang the OP for the show. And the other characters, some of them are you see there as voice. The hilarious thing. Oh, you can't see this. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can. The hilarious thing about this is that the Demon King in the upper right is voiced by Matsuoka Yoshitsugu, who is the voice of Kirito, and the Demon High Bishop Cleric. I think they said he's Demon Cleric. Is voiced by crap. I forgot his Japanese name, but he is the voice of Shield Hero. So a lot of fantasy crosses. Anyway, basically the princess is kidnapped as a hostage between the demon realm and the human realms, and then the human realm sends a hero, a Yusha, a warrior to go rescue her. Meanwhile, the princess is very relaxed because she doesn't have her princess duties, and shenanigans ensue as she pursues the best method to have a good night's sleep in the demon castle. So it's just about her going on a variety of quests, as dumb as it sounds, and she goes on a quest to find a nice futon. She goes on I forget what this one is. She goes on a quest to find a a wood bed, uh, kind of like a log style bed. She goes on various quests, and it's it's just ridiculous because she's the hostage princess, but she always gets out of her cell and she just goes on a rampage trying to find things. She also dies quite a bit, and it's just a gag anime. It's very light, it's comedic, and it doesn't really end because it's still ongoing and there's no resolution. But she gets out of the she gets out of the castle even to go visit places and the human realms, and she comes back because that's where she thinks she belongs right now. So it's just that. But for if you're a fan of comedy and if you're a fan of like Nichijou stuff, I would recommend it.
So it's lighthearted comedy.
It's lighthearted, very light.
Is it kind of like that Beelzebub one that came out a few seasons ago?
I did not watch that, so I can't tell.
Okay. Well, it's doesn't seem like that bad of a show, but since I didn't really hear anyone watching or talking about it, I never really decided to pick it up. But it may be something to watch for filler as we wait for more episodes to come out for the new season, right? Especially with all the crazy stuff that's been happening here,
right? Sure.
Let's go ahead and move to the next title then, which I've decided to choose to be this super long light novel name that you would think would be an isekai because of its long name. It's called Kimi to Boku no Saigo no Senjo Arui wa Sekai ga Hajimaru Sen no Seisen.
Yep.
Yeah, I deserve a cookie for that. A Last Crusade or The Rise of the New World, right? To me,
actually don't title.
So I was watching that show on, I believe it was Funimation as well. Another Funimation thing. It seemed like it had this high, really close relationship to like Romeo and Juliet type of thing for me when I was watching it from the beginning, where you got the two different parties, and it seems like there's a somewhat kind of a relationship budding from the two main protagonists in the show from either side, which I believe was the Ice Queen and this dual wielding. What did they call them? Like
I don't know what you're reaching for. I can't help.
They gave their knights a special title, right? Those guys that fought. I don't remember what the name is.
You're terrible. I don't either. I'm
yeah.
terrible.
So, but the main character was Iska, and it started off with this whole thing where he's being released from prison, being put back into his position to help the country defeat the evil empire, which so happens to be filled with people that have the ability to kind of wield magic, and they all have like this stigma on their body somewhere, and that helps them identify them. And as these two, Alice and Iska, engage in battle, it's kind of weird because they've never really fought each other, and they're both the main powerhouses. But since Iska's been gone for a long time,
so the English term you were looking for, sorry to cut you off, was saint disciple.
Yeah, saint disciple. So since he's been gone for a while and now he's joining the battles again, she now has this new respect for this fighter and kind of refers to him as her rival after a while. But due to some circumstances and because of how the world is, between them there's a neutral cities, and for some odd reason they constantly meet up in this neutral city. And they realize that they both kind of have the same taste, same things, because they're always running into the exact same locations. And you can kind of see that there's this somewhat romantic relationship that's kind of going on, but they can't follow that because of the war on the two countries. And in fact, I believe Alice even once invites him over to the Empire, and Itsuka refuses because of his loyalty. But both of them basically want the same thing, which is to bring peace to the world. And they're going to do it in two different ways. Oh, by Sean, I didn't know you were leaving, sorry. So, it's, I believe this is based on a light novel, and, it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but to me it's been pretty fun, even though it's not much to it. It's pretty laid back. It has some interesting comedy. When you see the views from both sides and how they spend their time off, and the moments that they just so happen to bump into each other and have this like small rom com moments. I've really enjoyed it, and it's not the stereotypical rom com that you would find because it's not in a school setting, which normal rom coms tend to be, I believe. This is out in a fantasy uh, world, and these are two adults, young adults. So it's been really refreshing and really fun. I believe it's going on for um, two. Oh no, it is the end.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised. I'm actually surprised. Yeah, it feels like it
really
should continue going on.
That they're going to get a second season. I mean, they might, but I don't think they like even confirmed at near the end of the season or anything. And I don't like feel that they have to. I think if there's any additional comment, they're just kind of counting on you to most likely check out the medium that it existed on.
But I believe there's enough content because I was looking into it. There's so many more characters that they haven't introduced.
Yeah, and like it can go either way. Is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I would actually expect a second season, probably not anytime soon, but I believe there will probably be one. But it's been very fun rom com, and although the rom com is what I most enjoyed about it, the action scenes within the series are actually pretty decent. I wouldn't say like they're Jujutsu Kaisen or whatever that show is. Jujutsu Kaisen. But they're decently done, well done, and they kind of add this whole new thing at the very end, which is why I question actually if it was really the end, and more likely to get more content. But overall, if you're looking for a new fantasy rom com anime, I would kind of want to recommend this because it's decently done, like I said, and I have no complaints about this. The quality is pretty much, it's not high, but it doesn't go to trash.
It's a quite enjoyable show. The antics that happen on on screen aren't boring. It does have decent action here and there. I would say that the only one thing that really rubbed me the wrong way, and it's just more of a setting compromise, is how much like animosity the two warring sides have for each other. Because it kind of like I think that's what they're going for in this series, but you kind of have this duality where both the characters are actually like aren't super representative of their side. They don't seem to be a staunch defender of my side is better than your side, and they are willing to kind of work together and look past um like loyalistic history to achieve their goal. And it doesn't seem that they exist in a society where that would be acceptable. There's a lot of pushback from characters around them for just working together because apparently outside of the two warring countries, if you will, there does exist neutral territory where you're not supposed to express which side you fall on. Are you the spirit infected magic user, or are you like an anti-magic magic will ruin society type person? And it was kind of interesting to see a lot of the show happen in that neutral territory where it wasn't just an us versus them, like one side's definitely going to win and going to take over the world. So there's a lot of weird politics to this one, but in the end, it just kind of felt weird that two characters were pushing for an ideal world, and it's almost like their society was a burden unto them in a sense. But it's quite an enjoyable show, I still think.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about it. I mean, it's pretty much the average show, the most average show this season. I would say that was enjoyable to get through, and other than that, if you have time, I would definitely say check it out. You may find something you like about it because the character designs are pretty interesting, and I don't want to say too much because like it's I think it's a show that people could definitely get into. I don't want to spoil too much of what happens, but there's no convoluted supercomputer whatever stuff. People crazy and stuff things.
Look, you have to re-throw up your spoiler tag. You just ruined it for anyone who was watching from the spoiler tag era.
Who cares? Other than that, is there Albert? Did you have anything you wanted to cover, or?
No, I mean, not really. I guess,
How about
well,
that?
none of you watched it, it looks like.
Can you tell us about that Kuma thing? Like, was that?
Yeah, I could tell you about that.
I remember watching the first episode. Isn't it like
It's a isekai.
yeah, or is it isekai or is it just a
It's
game world thing?
It it's the same. It doesn't matter. It falls in the same genre. So yeah, it it's I've read the manga, right? And I actually enjoy the manga despite it being silly. It's kind of like how the Slime Rancher anime last season, right? Made you feel, oh, it's light and fluffy and she's just a good girl, but the anime is not good. First off, in the first episode, it's not clear that it's an isekai or trapped in a game world situation, although she doesn't mind it, right? So I don't know why they picked that as to be the first episode. It doesn't make chronological sense because it happens later, and the adaptation just I don't agree with a lot of direction. They cut a bunch of things from the story to kind of make it fit into an episode. By doing that, the richness of the situation is removed. So, for example, later on, she has to come up with a plan to save the orphanage, and she decides, you know, that having the kids raise chickens, which are not known in the city, and eggs are a very high commodity in the city. By having the kids in the orphanage raise chickens, they can become self-sustained business, right? She puts a lot of thought into this, and a lot of explanation goes into how she thinks it should work, and negotiating with the village who in the faraway land parts of the country where she can't get the chickens, and all this, and all of that is done in a still image montage and one, I don't know, like 2 minutes. So really, really disappointing. In that sense, the background art is often just very still, pastel and non-moving. It's not good. It's just not a very good adaptation. So I would say if you know I, you should read the manga if you have any interest and skip the anime because it's not good. I did watch all 12 episodes and it was a slog towards the end.
Really?
Hmm. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be your whole cute girls doing cute things and this fantasy game, kind of like
No.
Bofuru or whatever is it?
Bofuri.
Beaufooty. Yeah.
No, it's nowhere as near charming as that. It's nowhere as well animated as that. And yeah, it's not good, dude. It's not good.
Oh, so you got your disappointment. Sounds like Dogiza is better than that show. When it comes to guys, this
No.
season. All right.
Bad.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next title then, since it seems to be somewhat of a disappointment. If anyone else has seen that show, let us know what you thought on it, if it's a disappointment or you thought it was good. I think Albert's the only one in our group that even attempted to watch it, right? Or did Nick?
I might have looked into like the first episode.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it looks like I was the only one. I mean,
He took the bullet for us. We'll just say it that way. Next up is going to be Warlords of Sigriffia.
I don't know. I've always called it Siegfrieda, but I guess there's not an F in there. So, you know, Norse lore, or not Norse, but what's the mythology? Thor/North? Yeah, I think it's Norse mythology. I'm not super familiar with terms out of that. So, you know, this show is an original by A1 Pictures, and I was really excited about it. It's 12 episodes long, but I do believe the first one is a double feature, like with a 40-ish minute runtime. So I do think it technically falls into like 13 episode pacing territory. It opened up with not an original plot. So these things known as pillars show up on Earth, and it's your typical like alien shows up, starts dominating like the your ocean, airspace, sea, and humanity's at a disadvantage in fighting. A little shonen boy with an eye patch shows up claiming to be Odin, says he will give humanity the chance it needs to at least defend itself. So he blesses maidens in a sense who are able to combat this airspace enemy using blessed planes, and it had what I felt was a lot going for it, because in episode 1 I think they really pulled out the stops for the animation that they did, where it like got me excited to the characters, because you're introduced to the scenario where there's a character who's known as the Grim Reaper, because while she goes in and is successful with every mission, she is the only person who makes it out alive. So everyone around her kind of dies, hence the Grim Reaper tag. She gets put into this base of a ragtag group of survivors as her next kind of assignment, where you have to go fight the enemy of humanity and clear the airspace. And you're introduced to a pretty unique blend of characters. None of them really felt cookie cutter. I actually felt like a charisma from this show that I last felt from that A Place Further Than the Universe, where I was drawn into the dialogue of the characters and their personality more so than any kind of anime art design. And that really made me look forward a whole lot, just based on my impression with episode 1. And as I proceeded to watch the show, I just kind of ended up losing my initial enthusiasm with it. I don't believe that it kept up the dialogue charisma that I felt in the first part. Another charm point in the first episode was a lot of these young girl Valkyrie pilots are piloting retro planes. Like, one of them had a float plane. A lot of them are like World War I/II era, and they're flying alongside modern day jets, like fighter jets, who are acting as their shield as they collectively work together to try to take this enemy down. Part of the show's charm was like in the aerial maneuvering. It kind of felt like someone was able to bring the charm of flying out. Like, there was a point in time that I remember in the first episode where a character has to bank turn really fast, and like the whole plane shuddered, and they were worried about the plane holding itself together, because as anyone who is even like a video gaming pilot might know, you can overstress an aircraft and break it. and I liked a lot of the stuff that it was showing versus telling, and that just didn't simply continue on past like the first episode as much. The antics started feeling a little bit dry, and I will say that I think how it tried to blend the story into Norse mythology didn't really work, because like Odin revealed like an old man form of his once. He like transformed out of the young boy mode and said like, I literally am this god. So I don't exactly know why they chose to, go with that as a character design. But as humanity was working alongside Odin, you come to find out that what humanity is being subject through is actually something that's more, it was not compared, but actually actively called a Ragnarok, which was like, the apocalypse, and kind of the equivalent terminology in English that we would be familiar with. And it seemed like a problem from another like godlike dimension was becoming humanity's problem. And then there was this like weird conflict about what happened that was an apocalypse in the past and on the god side of things, and how and why humanity themselves had to deal with it. And I didn't really, it felt convoluted, and I left the season without necessarily understanding it. And as I said, like the characters kept their personality, but the dialogue was definitely not as charming throughout the whole series. And I don't like how they blended the Norse side of things into the combat, right? Because like, the enemies looked weird. They didn't look representative of um, anything Norse. They were very futuristic, kind of. I don't know. I wouldn't even say grotesque figures, but they're designed as something that I can't even pinpoint and explain it to you. Is all I'm getting at. And it was kind of funny because it was one of those traditional like battle series in which you have to like fire at the enemy to expose like a part of its armor, and then you'll see this core in it, and if you take out the core, the whole enemy falls. And I think this one was a Norse mentality thing that I don't understand. But whenever you took down like the big boss, if you will, so whenever you hit the core of the thing that like took down the whole fleet and you didn't have to combat anymore, when you took out that core, they actually turned into like a giant, like a literal giant tree. And that's just something that I don't like. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I just don't have enough Norse mythology background to comprehend it. And it wasn't explained to the viewer for people like me who aren't super informed about the background of, like my extent of Norse mythology is kind of like stuff from Marvel, and I don't even follow that. I just kind of catch it through somebody maybe leaving something running. I haven't like watched all the Marvel movies, and I'm not saying Marvel is like the representation of like you watch your Thor movies, and you'll know Thor Norse. I can't say that. It's weird for me for some reason.
You need to watch
But
Campione. They got all that.
yeah, well, no, I have, but like I don't know, because like I still don't like. This one felt a little bit more like someone kind of knew a lot more of the background than that show. It wasn't presented to the viewer in a way that helped them understand. It really felt like you had to kind of know a lot of the mythology in question to really understand a lot of what was going on. And as I said, while initially the charisma of the show drew me in, it didn't keep up throughout the whole show. And elements of show versus tell, like when it came to piloting old souped up planes alongside modern day, well, like I like that duality of here's this old plane, here's a fighter jet, they're collectively working together on taking down enemies. I really enjoyed that element. But when it wasn't exactly like a bait and switch, because it's not that they did anything wrong. It's just I think it was a production value issue where it had a lot of thought and technique in the first episode, and that just it wasn't a detail that was prevalent throughout the whole series. Like it was present at times, but not as well integrated as the first episode. That was a double feature.
I see.
So it's like I walked away from this one liking the fact that I've watched it, but like I don't even like if it kept up its charisma and the duality of, you know, like piloting technique, I would have absolutely loved to put it on my shelf. But at this time, I when I walked away from the series, I was just more like, you know, WTF did I just watch? When it on the ending specifically, like on humanity has to fight its own Ragnarok, is where I kind of like, yeah, the series is convoluted and, well, not convoluted, but it's not the initial charm that I had with the show. So I think that they could have blended the Norse side of things a little bit better than they did, because it just feels weird when you take a step back and you look at this show and you're like, all right, so there's like military fighter jet personnel, there's young girls who have to pilot really old World War planes, they fight these weird alien floaty shapes, they take them down, and it all has something to do with Norse mythology, was like the takeaway here. And it's like,
yeah,
it's just kind of like a what?
It's not well thought out, right? So this is a multimedia, what they call a multimedia project. So it looks like the anime is considered the original. However, in parallel with that, they were writing the light novels and they were also writing the manga. And you know, this is a way for them to try to push something new out, like Azure Lane, which are ship girls, right? Or Kantai Collection, or any number of those kinds of, you know, girls slash military slash especially World War II era military equals cool, with the mythology thrown in. And I don't, by your description, I don't think it works very well, unlike some of the other you know, some of the other ones like Girls and Panzer or something like that.
Right.
So I think therein lies part of the problem, that they were hoping this would be a big franchise and they didn't quite stick it. Right? I mean, if you want cute girls doing flying things, you might as well watch Strike Witches.
No, like I actually did watch this season, Strike Witches.
You did? I did
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah. So yeah, everything is like meh.
But I wouldn't say like that's flying in the sense of like traditional plane, because that's, you know, weird propeller stick leg things. It's not the same. But I get what you're getting at. But I would almost think of other series that had flight, like this show to me just simply had potential and it just wasn't achieved. I think if they weren't trying to make it a multimedia project, if they weren't bound by that, they could have possibly made something better. Like I don't know what the fault here is, and that's not to say that there is definitely fault. It's just I know that the first episode had charm. It seemed like it had potential, and when I walked away from episode 12, it was like I don't know what to feel reflectively upon the whole series, and I could see its ratings. It's not doing terribly well on, you know, stuff like at least at the very least my anime list, but I was really excited after watching episode 1.
Pretty well, yeah. Community's giving it like a mid-7, which is meh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, it's probably better than that railroad show this season with cute girls, right? So yes, for all your budding, aspiring anime story screenwriters and all that, just because you have a cute girl and cool military NECA does not make a story.
You gotta have
Need
a long
something
name.
more.
You need a long name as well.
No. Also, an unpronounceable, you know, name.
You kind of reminded me of this one anime. I think it was last year that had the first episode was this like really realistic airplane moment where they took off on a blimp.
Yeah. Koya no Kotobuki Hikotai, which is, I can't remember what the English title is. So that one was also the Magnificent Kotobuki, and yes, that one was about planes and two girls, and very retro planes with airships and all that. And you found out the reason why, right? Because it's not set on our Earth as we know it. That technology came from elsewhere, and that's why. So I did enjoy that one because that was directed by Mizushima, who did Girls and Panzer, and it was interesting use of full CG, and I thought the flight scenes were relatively realistic. They put a lot of effort into it. Now it is CG; it's all CG, so there's that. But yeah, I think that's a far better one. Although I haven't watched the Warlords of Sigurd Frida or whatever.
Yeah,
There's that,
Sigdrift
and
or something. I don't know.
and
Sigdrift.
it's also why did they yeah, why did they name it Warlords? Because that's not what it Senyoku means a fighting wing, so
Yeah,
I
that's
mean
what
that
the planes were referred to as hero wings, I believe they translated it to in English. So it's not even like present in the show. Like they didn't have the duality to name the plane and the show the same, but
yeah. So I don't know. It sounds like it was an experiment that didn't quite, land. Genre is
yeah, like
fantasy.
I don't know if there's something on the Japan side that people were able to find in like outside of the anime. What else existed in Japan that I don't know of? Like, was the manga any better? Was the book or whatever the other content was? Because I do think that, I was mostly going off what my anime list said as far as its originality, and it could just be an original storyboard. But like as you said, the IP exists as other stuff as well. But like the character design is
There are
there.
two.
There's aesthetics of the show and elements that are really cool. It just didn't blend well. Like, and I do think that if they were able to rework that, like the integration of that Norse storyline, they could have had something a lot better. But it would have just come down to, I guess just a directorial perspective of um of keeping those elements that you entice people with padded throughout the whole show. Because I mean, maybe other people won't like the things that I liked about episode one. Obviously, it's not a well-received show, so it did have its shortcomings that are very obvious in the community. But like, I still like parts of the show. It's just not the whole show. So,
Yeah, there's two light novel series and two manga series. The manga is still ongoing. The light novels each have 2 volumes, so a total of 4 different
gotcha.
stories set in looks like different places. Is I think although it's set in Japan, yeah, it's set in Japan. There are obviously other areas of the world,
Yeah.
and like the I guess one of the girls is from England because she is like riding a Spitfire, right? She's piloting a Spitfire. So yeah, interesting, but ultimately probably forgettable.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I think that'll be it for today. This was going to be a small session just to catch up on some of the titles that are the main titles we didn't get to watch. So I'd like to thank Albert, Nick for staying this long with me. Sean, and I'm sorry, Jessica, you didn't get to say anything. Who else was there? Was that it? Vinny?
Yeah, I think we had one other person in chat, but only in chat.
Yeah, Vinny, you're in our hearts. You're in our hearts, Vinny. But that'll be it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching OreAni, and I hope you can join us for the beginning of the next season. Also, I'm wondering, would you guys be interested in trying to do something for like the best from 2010 to 2020? The best shows, like the best romance, the best action, or something like that.
Maybe.
But I just want to caution Vinny real quickly. Watch out for trucks. Someone might have set a death flag for you just very recently.
But we'll hear about it, and maybe we'll come up with something later. Other than that, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in a few weeks for the end, or sorry, for the start of 2021.
Start. Yampasu.
Yan pasu.